Lesson 103. In this lesson, we continue our study of the second declension by examining the accusative singular and the accusative plural forms of the noun we're. As you can see in the chart, both of those forms are circled. The accusative singular form of we're is we'rum, and the accusative plural form is we'ros. Notice how the accusative singular ending is um, and the accusative plural ending is os. Let's get some practice with these new second declension forms by looking at our exercises. In exercise number 1, timet is the verb. That means he, she, or it fears. But we don't need he, she, or it because bestia is the subject. We'rum is the direct object. That's the accusative singular form of we're. And the word known is negating the verb timet. So number 1 says, the beast does not fear the man. In number 2, video is the verb. That means I see. We'ros is the direct object. That's the accusative plural form of we're. Notice the os ending. And inskafa is a prepositional phrase. So number 2 will say, I see the men in the boat. In number 3, the word said divides the sentence into 2 independent clauses. In the first clause, timet is the verb. That means he, she, or it fears. But we don't need he, she, or it because we're is the subject. Bestias is the direct object. In the second clause, timent is the verb. That means they fear. But we don't need the word they because bestia is the subject. We'rum is the direct object. That's the accusative singular form of we're. Notice the um ending. And known is negating the verb. So number 3 altogether will say, the man fears the beasts, but the beasts do not fear the man. In number 4, identificant is the verb, and that means they build or they are building. But we don't need the word they because weary is the subject. Casas is the direct object. So number 4 will say, the men are building houses. In number 5, habent is the verb. That means they have, but we don't need the word they because weary is the subject. Pecuniam is the direct object, and numquam is an adverb. So number 5 will say, the men never have money. In number 6, the word said divides the sentence into 2 smaller independent clauses. In the first clause, possum means I am able. It's being negated by known. Edificare is an infinitive that means to build, and casam is the direct object. In the second clause, edifico is the verb. That means I build or I am building. Skafas is the direct object, and saipe is an adverb. So number 6 as a whole will say, I am not able to build a house, but I often build boats. In number 7, ambulo is the verb. That means I walk or I am walking. And then we have 2 prepositional phrases, cum puellis and ad octam. So number 7 says, I am walking to the seashore with the girls. In number 8, narat is the verb. That means he, she, or it tells, or he, she, or it is telling. But we don't need he, she, or it because poeta is the subject. Puelli is in the dative singular, and that's the indirect object. Fabulas is the direct object. So number 8 will say, the poet is telling stories to the girl. In number 9, dant is the verb. That means they give or they are giving. But we don't need the word they because weary is the subject. Insularum is in the genitive plural, and that's possessing weary. Nautis is in the dative plural, and that's the indirect object. Skafas is the direct object, and saipe is an adverb. So number 9 will say, the men of the islands often give boats to the sailors. In number 10, we have 2 clauses, one coming before quod and the other coming after quod. In the first one, manemus is the verb, and that means we stay or we are staying. In insula is a prepositional phrase. In the second clause, amamus is the verb. That means we love or we like. And insulam is the direct object. So number 10 will say, we are staying on the island because we love the island.